Hey, we are live! Yay! Ah, it feels like an accomplishment. It feels like
Yes.
we've done something, even though we haven't yet. So, tonight, Cubbie, we're going to have some fun figuring out exactly what our favorite toy that we only use sometimes can do. And for those of you wondering, we're going to be referring to Jackery specifically, which is a brand of battery inverter. Hey, wow, guess what? There's a microphone on over here, or a speaker on over here. Got to shut that off. Battery inverters. This is something that's come on in the last number of years. As we have been doing ceremonies and spots in the past, we would have had to go and get a little generator and have this little Honda generator, which the Honda ones were the quietest ones, but we'd have to have a 50-foot of cord, try to hide it behind something to keep it as quiet as possible for the ceremony. Then battery inverters came out, which inverters were available to hook up to car batteries forever. And many of us utilized versions of that when we needed to have remote power. So we'd go to our local auto shop, whatever, Napa, and we could buy this inverter that truckers would use where they'd hook it to their big batteries and then power some things. But it's come a long way, and now there's inverters at different levels. And Cubbie, before we started tonight, you actually own one of the Jackeries there. What have you been doing? Using it for?
I use it for ceremonies that have either a long power pole, or that where you're out down by a lake and there's no power whatsoever. Just used it this last Saturday when the power pole it was like about 100 yards of cable. And so I was like, I don't feel like rolling that out there. So let's bring my Jackery, set it right next to me.
And off you go.
Yeah, and use 8% for the whole hour, because 30 minutes pre-ceremony music. And the 30-minute ceremony, I think I used like 8 or 9% off the battery that I use it. So it's amazing.
And
so amazing.
What did it power for you?
I do have the Everse, so I didn't really. I had my speakers already charged. It was my laptop, my microphone, and my mixer.
Mm-hmm. And that's very, very similar to what I utilize many times when I'm doing the ceremony. Is the speakers themselves. I mean, obviously, a person could have dropped cords and gone to the speakers, but that's one more cord actually two more cords I don't have to carry, because the speakers are already battery powered, so they can go. So it's just basically XLR, jump from one to them, and then off we go. And you said 8% is what you used?
Yeah, because I showed a friend of mine who owns the venue that has a long power pole. I'm like, man, you ought to think about getting one of these when they go on Amazon Prime, Prime Day, because that's when I got mine last year. And he's like, that's a pretty good deal, and he might be getting one. So he thought it was really cool.
Now, the one you have is one of the smaller ones. It's roughly a 300. And again, we're going to talk Jackery, but this really translates over to the other brands also. As a matter of fact, if you click Jackery.com, then go back to Facebook, you're going to see Blue Yeti ads. You're going to see all the different companies' ads of inverters tonight. And just by listening to this, you're probably going to be hearing or seeing those ads, because somehow Facebook reads what your brain is consuming, and then there's ads.
It's weird like that. Yeah, it's
weird. It's very. But part of tonight is we want to kind of give you guys an idea of what these devices can run as far as gear and such, because people are like, "Hey, I've got these 2 speakers and a mixer. Can one of these little inverters run it for an hour?" And the short answer, yeah, 9 times out of 10. Even the small one that Cubbie is referring to, which is the 300, can do quite a bit. But we're going to dig into those a little bit more to give you more of an idea of what these things, what some of these numbers mean and such as we go into that. And that's all part of tonight's show. Before we go too far, I want to just shout out to one of our sponsors, DJ Event Planner. They are one of our big sponsors with DJNTV. Their link and all the links of the sponsors are down in the description of the video below. If you get a chance, please go check those out. Just click on the links and show them some love, because without their support for the DJ Event Planner and ProX and Odyssey and Electrovoice, these companies are the ones that help us do what we do and bring it to you. Now, I mentioned one of the speaker companies. We're going to talk speakers quite a bit, because that's usually where DJs get hung up on things. Electrovoice is a sponsor of us, and I've been a user of Electrovoice since way, way, way before even Disc Jockey News existed. I had Electrovoice, so they've been a long time supporter of us. Yay, thank you. But I literally have had their gear forever. that's not, we're not going to just focus on their stuff tonight. So for those of you who are like, oh, you're just Electro Voice fanboys. Yeah, because it's good. Secondly is the same information will apply across the board. If you've got JBL, which I've had JBL, Yamaha, anything,
Bose
Bose,
has like
it's all, it's just a question of some of that information is not posted on their websites, because one of the companies I wanted to look at was the LD systems, because a lot of us are using the Evolve 50s and we love the Evolve 50s. But LD Systems has a step up with the, what is it, the 44G or G44? I think it's 44G. That's a step up in a little bit more horsepower. So it's like, that would be a great one to compare for tonight's show. But the spec that we needed to see doesn't exist. And I don't have one to plug it in and be able to tell you exactly what. So my desire was there. It's just the information was not. So Cubbie, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch our screen here just a little bit. You won't see that part that is different, but I am going to then share another computer screen here. Oh, where is it? I gotta get to that. And the reason I'm doing this tonight this way is so that you guys can see. There we are, and it should pop up. Perfect. So what we're going to look at right now is we're going to look at a couple of different speakers that are commonly used by DJs. And of course, QSC is where we're going to start with. This is the K12-2, which is their most popular speaker out there for DJs right now. That a lot of people have that. And what I'm looking for specifically is this line right down here, this AC power consumption, 1/8 power. Now let's not get hung up on the 1/8 power quite yet. But what this basically is, when it's filled in properly or is listed properly, it gives us an idea of how much power that speaker is going to be pulling from a wall at a specific volume. And we'll talk about the specific volume in just a second. In this particular case, we look across there, we see a 100 volt at a 120 is what we typically are going to run. And it shows that it basically is kind of maxed out at a 1.9 amp rating, which means that at 1/8 power on the speaker, that it is going to be pulling a max of 1.9 amps. So we need to take that voltage, that 120, times the amps, which let's just round that to a 2. So that means that speaker at that exact moment, when it is using a 100% of its 1/8 of the power that it can pull from the wall, it's going to be pulling about roughly 240 watts, 240, somewhere in that ballpark. That's what it's going to be pulling from the wall. Now, the question becomes is how can we figure out how much volume that's going to have? Now, we're going to look up a little bit, and you see the max SPL right up here. You see that at 132 at whatever. The number we're going to look at is kind of the continuous number, because we're assuming continuous power at 1/8 power. And their continuous rating is 126. So those are numbers I want you to kind of we're going to kind of think about for just a second. I'm going to pop to another window. Now this is a sheet we use for a different video, but we can kind of correlate this. What I went through is basically taking the idea that when you put 1 watt into a speaker, you have your sensitivity gives you this much sound pressure. And every time you double the wattage, you're getting another 3 dB gain of your sound pressure. So as we're looking over in this first column, this is 1 watt going into a variety of different speakers. Then we doubled the power to 2 watts, and this is what the new SPL rating is. Then we doubled it to 4 watts, continuing on. And this was the spreadsheet we put together to figure out exactly how much the initial sensitivity, how it mattered. Now, why we're using it tonight is that we're going to come over here and let's see, I don't think I've got QSC on this. Oh, there it is. They are up here. QSC, the QSC 12 is up here. So their max on that speaker, if I'm not mistaken, is it's coming in there about 1,000. Let's just see, what did it say its wattage was? Okay, an 1,800 watt. It's an 1,800 watt speaker is what they say that they have in that. So that 1,800 watt is going to be landing somewhere between the 2,400 and the 2,000, but it's going to be closer to the 2,000 watt range there, which is going to bring it in under 132 decibels at absolute max, pink noise screaming as loud as it can. Basically, it's right there just before it blows up. Okay. If we go backwards, 8th power, we're talking. Their ratings were for 8th power, pulling about 200 watts of electricity from the wall maximum. We have to double that once. That's to quarter power. Then we double the quarter to half, and then half to full. So that's only from full to half to quarter to eighth. So if full is roughly this 2,000 watt column, and this for this speaker, this would be half running volume. This would be quarter running volume, and this would be what the maximum wattage going out, or the maximum sound pressure capable at an eighth of the electricity draw. So roughly in this particular case, the speaker, when it's maxed and giving you everything it can at 8th power, is going to producing about 120, 100 or 123 in your decibel rating. Now, Cubbie, how many times when you're out DJing are you playing that loud at 123 decibels?
Not a lot.
Not very often. And this is the thing. This is the kind of thing that's really kind of surprising for a lot of people. Is that's really loud. I mean, that's like borderline concert loud. I've tested speakers, and I've had them out here at that volume, and it's uncomfortable to be in front. Most of the time, that speaker, we're probably going to be running it down in here in that 115 range, if even that. Saturday night at the wedding I was at, the loudest at any time we had gotten in front of the speakers was 110. Most of the time, our speakers were running between 102 and 105. So we were not pushing a ton of power out. The point, though, that I want to show is that if you look at 110 to 115, that's we went from here is the 8th power. This would be a 16th. Then we're down to a 32nd type of thing. So instead of having 200 watts of power of what that's drawing out every hour, that speaker, when it's playing, is sometimes, because of music being up and down, sometimes it's only pulling 10 watts of power. And then for a split, instant, it might be pulling 25 watts of power. But it's probably going to run somewhere between 20 and maybe a max of 100 watts that top speaker, full range, is going to be pulling during a song, averaging maybe 40 watts of power, if you follow me with that. Now that 40 watts is basically, that means that it's going to be using 40 watts, again, because of peaks and valleys. It's going to be kind of average out, it's going to be using 40 watts for 1 hour of runtime. So that information, we can take that over to our friends over at Jackery. And this is a very common one. This is the 1,000. And Kevin, you said you had the 300, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go to the 300 if I can do this without, if they even have it. I don't even know if they have it on their website anymore.
Yeah, it's right.
It's got to be coming.
There's right there, 300 plus.
Yep.
Wait, let me see it.
Yeah, that's got to be close to what you've got.
Let me see a picture. No, I don't have that one, actually. must have the 500.
Okay. Again,
I was looking at the 500 going, that looked exactly like the one I had.
Oh, am I not going to get there? Oh, okay. I gotta get. Again, this is part of being live, ladies and gentlemen. Is that when you get to a spot and you want to find and tell the story as accurately as possible. So we're gonna find the 500 here, so we can actually kind of look and give Cubbie. Goodness gracious, their website.
Right? Oh my gosh,
their website is so cumbersome. I want product. Give me a products. So there's a video going to be going up here that I did today on why we make it difficult to buy, and this is a prime example. Why in the world this is so cumbersome.
Yeah, that is exactly what I have right there.
Oh my gosh, but that if you're going to do something, you make it so it's an easy experience for customers to buy. And again, when you see my video, I actually dropped profanity in that video. I'm just saying it. Right?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, they ticked me off a little bit today with that one. That just did not make me happy. Okay, so here's the approximate one that Cubbie has. It's a Jackery, and again, this information is very similar across the board. There's a couple of things when you're looking at these, what you want to be looking for. there's the older generation, which is using a lithium battery. That's what I own. I'm okay with that. Then there's the ones that are using a lithium iron phosphate technology battery, which are kind of the new generations of those. The biggest difference between those two is a little bit of weight. The newer ones are a little lighter. And then the number of cycles, charge cycles, discharge, recharge, discharge, recharge. This particular unit is what Cubbie has, what I have, a variation of this. It's going to give, I think it's like 1,000. It's rated for 1,000 charges and discharges. That's going to be like years, because I don't discharge it and recharge it every day. The lithium iron phosphate can handle like 3 to 4 times. They could be 4,000 cycles or 5,000 cycles. It's just some huge number. I talking to one guy, and he's like, I was talking to one guy, and he was basically saying that that's like 20 years of use. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to live that long with having to be a DJ. I don't plan to be DJing when I'm 75. I'm just going to put it out there. So the 500, what it means basically is that the 500 is kind of referring to the inverter consistent flow out, that it can put out a 500 watt. Let's get that ad out of there. You're seeing, because it's a 500 watt inverter for consistent, that's what it's kind of running at. It can surge up to 1,000 watts. The most important number in this whole equation, though, is from my perspective, is that 518 watt capacity. We're going to jump back to our speaker. We're going to run our K12, and we're going to run it for an hour. And we said basically, because of the peaks and valleys, it averaged out to using 40 watts for the hour. That means that you take that 40 watts of that speaker, you divide that into that 518, which is going to base this little box right here is going to run that for 12 hours. Yeah, over 12 hours, because 480 would be 12 hours. So it could run that speaker, and just that speaker alone, for a little over 12 hours on this box. Now you can see on the front of it, it's got this nice little battery, a picture of a battery. It's 100%. It'll also tell you how many watts that speaker are drawing at that given time, which is really kind of a cool feature, because you'll be able to see it going up and down a little bit as there's the music or sound changes. It's just how it is, but it gives you that visual representation of what it is. Now, I'm going to jump to a little video here, because there's nothing that says fun like a home video. Now, this particular, what you're seeing on there below on my table here, because we ended up moving ceremony here at the fairly last minute, so it's kind of a little bit of a mess, but I'm back and nobody cares. This was actually Jackery before Jackery was Jackery. That inverter, that is a 300 watt. We don't need that. So there's my little ceremony sound system, and you see my my Evolve or my Everse 8. I got an Everse 8 there, and there was one off to the right. If you saw it, there's. I don't think I can go back really cleanly. So in this particular case, what it's running is that little Yamaha mixer. I'm running one wireless mic receiver there, and I believe I have the laptop plugged in. Yes, yep, laptop is plugged in right there also. Let's see, there we go. So you can see right now that the laptop, the mixer, and the microphone receiver are using 94 watts. There is what this one. This is this is Jackery before Jackery was Jackery. They sent this out, and I've tested this, and I've used this numerous times. Actually, I've used this to run my portable refrigerator the most of any of the things I've used it for. But it's right now pulling 96 watts of power for those three things. The one of the three that we're drawing the most power is the laptop. That little laptop, you can kind of see on the side there. There's the little wall wart for the laptop. Those are like 85 watt wall warts or charging packs. So that's what's using most of the power here. With that, this is a 300. It has, I think, 286 watts of storage capacity. So that would be able to run this configuration as I have it set. Again, the speakers are not into it. That would be able to run this for just about 3 hours without problem. And I don't know how much more I have on this. So yeah, it was bouncing between 82 and 86. Yeah, that is what I had there. So let's look at a bigger speaker. Let's go to our friends at Electro Voice, and we're going to look at the ETX 15P. Now, Cubbie, you've got.
I got the 8s.
You've got the Everse. You use the Everse 8s for your ceremony and such.
Yeah,
And then you've got the Evolve 50s.
correct.
Do you have any? Do you have any of the other EKX or ETX stuff?
I have some of the olders, yeah, just as backup stuff, and just something crazy was to happen.
Sure. But yeah, your primary has become the Evolve 50s.
Correct.
Yeah, that's. And I have the ETX, some of the ETX stuff. EKX stuff. I've got basically almost the whole line because I love those. As Ben Stowe said, they're the best bang for the buck. You get the best sound and weight, size, and then you get into ETX, and that's his, what do you call it, industrial grade. But I wanted to look at the ETX because it has at the very bottom of it the power consumption on that. And it has the range and the power consumption. Again, if we look at the very, very bottom, it says again at 8th power. And it's showing us that the wattage at an 8th power can range anywhere from 0.8 of an amp to 1.6 amp. So in this particular case, we're looking at about, it's like an amp and a quarter if we're going to just average it out. So we do the little math thing again, the 120 volts times really even 1 amp. So at 8th power, this speaker is much more efficient than that K12 we were just looking at, because it's basically, if we're going to put in 200 watts of electricity into that speaker at 8th power, we're going to be getting more power than we did with or more sound pressure than we did with the other speaker. Because in this particular case, our peak on that one is 135 if we look at the top. And I'm going to bounce back to our little chart over here, because I've got the 15 right here. And now the ETX, and the two lines there both are the ETX. They both, the 12 and the 15 are both the same specs when it comes to their efficiency and their SPL. So we're going to go back our 8 steps. So here's our first step. This is down to half. This is quarter. And here is an eighth. So basically, with our speaker utilizing 250 or putting out 250 watts of power to the cones, it's taking in about 100 watts, and it's producing an SPL rating of about 125, 126. Again, way higher than anything we would probably ever do. Realistically, if we wanted to be down in that 115, we're way over here. And again, we can take this down. So we were at 8th power, we're at 16th, the 32nd, 64th, a 128th power right there. So minimal. In this particular case, this speaker would probably be looking at, instead of an average of 40 watts an hour, it might be looking at a 25 to 30 watts an hour. Now, if we were playing something that had, pink noise, where it was uniform across all spectrums, which they do sound tests that way, then it's going to be a little bit different as far as it's going to be using more power, because it's trying to reproduce all frequencies. Music isn't like that. Music has highs and lows. It's got bass. It's got vocals. It's got things. So this particular case, our ETX is probably going to be averaging in the course of an hour pulling about 30 watts of power. We bump back to the unit that Cubbie has, the 500. That 500 that Cubbie's got. Let's see, if we go with 30, we're averaging 30 watts, divide that into that 518. Goodness gracious, that's going to be like almost a full day, a full day of play right there. Almost crazy, 19, 18 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
It's, again, the efficiency of the speaker really helps in this particular case, because you can get more volume out of the less power you're putting into the cabinet. So let's just say Cubbie says, you know what, I want to go up, and I'm going to go and let's go to the next version, the step up in the Jackery. There's a couple of different Jackeries out in the 1000, the Jackery 1000. We're actually looking at Home Depot, and the Home Depot version is a bit different from the perspective as their battery capacity on a Home Depot version that Jackery made for them in the 1000 has a capacity of 880 watts of capacity. Now on Amazon and even on Jackery's site, we can find the 1000, and it will be a little bit over 1,000 wattage. I don't know why they made them different. They've got the same model number on them, but there's a difference in wattage. And at times, the one on Home Depot is $100 cheaper than the one on Amazon. But it's also 15 to 20% less storage capacity. So if you needed the storage capacity, you needed the longer run, the other one would be probably a better buy. But in this case, we've got 880 watts of capacity in there, and if we're using 30 watts average with our speaker, that speaker could literally will run 24 hours on this pack, and it would still have battery left over. And that's the 1,000-watt one.
And it's got 3 outlets too. If you notice, like I only have the 1 outlet, so I always had to use a power strip to plug in everything else, which is not bad. But
yeah, this is
actually
3
outlets.
Yeah, this is the one that I have. I've literally had this one sitting back here. This is my main one that I use for that. And you're right, Cubbie. Those 3 outlets are fabulous. And yeah, you can put an outlet strip in the other one, and it works fine. That's, if you saw on my picture or my little video clip, I have in my ceremony bag, I have a tiny little cord, a little power strip or a power splitter that has 3 outlets, and then I have a little 3-way that I put in there, so technically I can access 5 outlets on this thing. But it's just things that were not usable anywhere else, and I just threw in my ceremony bag as the time you need them. So yeah, this could definitely run a long time. Let's take this now to the idea of a ceremony. Let's say that Cubbie decided that he was going to have his ETX speakers out there, and he was going to use those instead of his eVerse 8s, or he could maybe do his K12 12.2s. If we figure that those speakers would use 50 watts an hour, plus all the stuff you saw on my little video. So if each speaker uses 50 watts an hour, and my little table worth of stuff uses another 100 watts an hour, that is 200 watts that could be utilized, or those things are pulling in the course of an hour. This particular Jackery, that 880, could run that system for 4 hours. Now we got to keep in mind that music on those speakers, it's 50 watts. It's not 50 watts all the time. There are going to be times it might be pulling 60 watts, and there's more times where it's probably pulling 20 watts. That's just kind of an average. We're just wanting to give you an idea. If you're like, that's not enough, I need more horsepower, Jackery, of course, has that. I will show you the next one that I have, and that is this beast. This is the main one that I have, and I actually have this one in the house. And when I would go and do a ceremony where I needed to have more power, or if I'm going to take my DJ system out, this is the one that will go. It is in the house because if something happened in the house and we lost electricity, I could go and throw a window air conditioner in, and I could literally run the window air conditioner off this, and I could probably run it for the full day, because I've done the little thing on the kilowatt, and the window air conditioner. If you guys, I think I've done some video on that. It's very efficient. It's the most efficient one out there, and those only pull like 300 watts when they're running. Once they're running and they're into their cruising mode. The startup is with air conditioners where it takes a lot. And this, of course, has a starting capacity, your starting peak of 4,000, over 4,000 watts. So something like this could easily run a refrigerator or whatever. So that's why it's in the house, but it will come out when needed. This particular one has over 2,000 watts capacity. So if we're going back to our DJ system, we figure our 2 speakers are doing 100 watts an hour. We do our DJ controller and all those things, if those are doing 200 watts an hour. So if we add that, we're like, let's just put that up to 400 watts an hour right there. That means that system, the speakers and the mixer and a controller and a microphone could run 4 hours easily, could run almost 5 hours on this particular one. If I'm pulling 400 watts of power an hour, I could run 5 hours on this big box. That's being very generous as far as the amount of wattage that we're pulling. We're probably not pulling 500 watts. I've had dual subs out here and tops running outside and running them hard above or at wetting volume. And we ran those things for 4 hours on the smaller Jackery, the 1,000 or the 880, the 880 watt capacity. And I didn't deplete it. It was still going. There was still quite a bit of electricity left on that thing. So it could definitely, this particular one, I would not have any concern of running an LED light tree or two, running my Evolve 50s, both Evolve 50s, my mixer, everything, and running it for the whole night. I would easily 6 hours no problem. Probably more like 8 hours, if not 10, because those things really aren't that, they don't suck up that much power. The thing that would suck the most power consistently is the laptop. It's just crazy. That laptop charger, that laptop power supply, that would suck the most power. But I can see, Cubbie, you're thinking that's still not enough power for you. You want more.
Okay, go Tim the Toolman Taylor.
You're like, what happens if I want to really have some stuff? So this is actually now we're pushing into almost the crazy sportsman, Tim Taylor type world. This is a company called Dakota Lithium that I have worked with their batteries. I have multiple of their batteries, and they just went into the power inverter that their Power Station 2400. Now, this particular one, if you look at the battery capacity, it's a little over 2,000 watts, and it has very similar specs. But what I like about this particular one is that this has the lithium iron phosphate battery in it, and they're standing behind a thing for 11 years. Basically, if something goes wrong in 11 years, they'll just send you a new one. It's like, hello. Yeah, it's a chunk of change. The Jackery that was similar to this was, $1,600. This is $500 more. But for somebody who's wanting to do this and use this and, kind of beat on it in a semi-industrial way, there are tools out there for that. And this would be one of those. It's going to give you more crazy amounts of power, and it's going to be able to do that. And it has an 11-year warranty. Who does that? Who does that? Not me. So Cubbie, that's kind of an overview of what I have found when it came to those power inverters. Lots of stuff to look at here. I'm just kind of looking at the chat here a bit.
As you say, they're probably just going crazy in there.
Yeah. Gus mentioned he used a 35 amp hour battery with a 500 watt pure sine inverter. What he's referring to with that pure wave sine inverter, and that's one of the things that many of these early generation came out with, and they were a modified sine wave, which means that using it on delicate equipment, computers, DJ controllers, it wasn't advised because it doesn't send the cleanest power out. The pure sine wave is sending out a much cleaner power, which is better for computers. The Jackeries and such, everything pretty much you saw tonight is pure sine wave. I do have devices next that are like my little Ryobi. If you've seen those little 150 watt that go into the 18 volt batteries, those are a modified sine wave. They work fine for doing a light or something. If I want to go and put up a bunch of, some of these lights, these are 75 watt floodlights, I can take that little 150 and I could have that run this for, I don't know, maybe an hour or whatever it would be. I don't know, right at the top of one of the big batteries. I'd have to figure it out. So it has its place. I've used it more as a USB charger, truthfully, the other ones. When it comes to the computer equipment, the pure sine wave is really nice. But yeah, as Gus says, if you are comfortable with it and you want to make your own, they can work, and they can literally, Howie made one when he made his Howie box that Brian Red's done some video with and such. That thing could last all day, and it was all done off rechargeable AA batteries or AA power sources. There's cells that he had put together, but he also knows what he's doing. I would not do what Howie did because I don't have that electric knowledge to the level of that he does to be able to go and connect things and make it foolproof. Yeah, we do have air conditioners up here, Dave. But by Saturday, it's going to be like 67, and we're going to need it. Oh, 67. Can you believe it? So yeah, that, I think, as I've been kind of watching and people talking about the Jackery thing, or the battery inverter thing, I think that whole concern about running out of power is probably the biggest thing I think we've been picking up. Well, when you did it for the very first, did you go take it and practice with it beforehand to make sure it would run along, or how did you kind of?
No, I should have. The right answer would have been yes, John. I did, but no, because I knew I had a battery-powered speaker that I was going to be plugging into it. And if I had to, I could unplug my laptop because the laptop will last an hour. But I always keep my laptop plugged in just for that purpose, and my speaker charged at all times prior to me going out. So. But I mean, worst case scenario, if I needed my mixer and my microphone, it'd power those two things. But just was impressed with it from the first time I used it till like even last Saturday. It was just amazing. It only just pulled 9% off
Yeah.
my battery.
And that's crazy, 9%. So
Yeah.
basically, again, it's a what was it, a 500 watts and 9%. So
Yeah.
it used about 45 watts. And how long did you use it?
An hour.
An hour.
Pre-ceremony, just playing music, pre-ceremony, and second, and then the ceremony is about 20, it's a 25-30 minute ceremony. Um, and it was just easy peasy. And
Yeah.
like, and then I have to run 100 feet of cord.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lifesaver for me.
Oh, for sure. The quickness of breakdown, because from that video that I showed, when I was done, click, click, put box back and go. And there was basically 2 trips. I had a friend there at the thing. He grabbed stuff and I grabbed stuff, and we took it and we moved our gear to the other spot, and off we went. Quick and easy.
And I would say if you're in the market for one, wait till about mid-July, and I'm sure you'll be posting some things on Prime Day through your link at Disc Jockey News, and just watch for it on Prime Day, because that's when I got mine, and I got it I felt it was a great deal. It was below the $500 price mark. I want to say it's like 400 is when I got it, like $100 off.
Yeah, I would say, because just a couple of days ago they had a great price on the Jackeries. They popped up. You guys just saw, I just put a link up there about 20 seconds ago. Now you're finally seeing it, or now you're finally seeing me talk about it. That's my Facebook page. And when I find deals like that from Home Depot or somewhere, I post those links. Like 2 days ago, there was a Ryobi power station, which is going to be here tomorrow, because I have a lot of Ryobi batteries. I've got the 40-volt batteries, and people have asked about that. So it's like, hey, there was a great deal on it. 4 big batteries and the inverter, and it's an 1800 watt inverter, and da. So I'm going to get that in, because there's some of you out there who've got the 40-volt chainsaw and the 40-volt trimmer or the 40-volt mower in the Ryobi line, and to be able to, the Jackery's nice, but that if you can utilize your batteries in multiple ways, that could be very appealing. And the price was under $1,000 when that first came out. That whole system with batteries was like over $2,000. It's amazing how the prices on those things have come down. So anyway, if you guys want to just go out to Facebook and John Young MN, and just click to follow my page, my thing. If you click to friend me, I may or may not accept your friend request if I don't know you. But if you follow me, you'll get the same information. It's just I get so many friend requests that I don't accept a ton of those unless I know if I've met you somewhere in the past.
Yeah, we're not even friends on Facebook, so I'm just kidding.
Who are you again?
I know.
Thanks. So yeah, I think for most DJs that the 500 I think is a perfect ceremony, because you could run the speakers and you'd be fine. If you got to an event where you lost power, you could power those 2 top speakers and your mixer and things, and you got at least 2 hours of runtime on that 500. The 1000 watt, I would be comfortable 2 speakers, a whole show, no problem. The 2000, I would add the subs, whole show, let's go. I think you're there. And as Cubbie mentioned, you can monitor, and if you get to the point where you're starting to sweat a little bit and thinking, oh, well, I don't know if I'm going to make it till midnight. Yeah, maybe I undo my laptop and just let my laptop battery go down a little bit. Or maybe then I go from 2 subs, maybe I go down to 1 sub. There's ways to do it, and those things have that. When they have that information and show you what the current consistent draw is, it's going to help you be able to make it to the end of the night. And in many cases, DJs have saved events by having things like that at their disposal. So there we go.
I would actually analyze your need, and if it's mostly ceremonies, or if you do like a tent wedding, if you can charge, get the larger one, like you talked about, upcharge for it. Say, look, I'll provide my own generator at this cost and over so many times. I don't do a lot of tent weddings to where the power pole's a lot, or you have to have a generator or something. But I do upcharge if it is at a lake, and I charge extra $75 to bring my Jackery.
Mm-hmm. And this weekend I've got a wedding that's out in the middle of 40 acres. The Jackery's coming with it's the main power system, and I'm charged extra for it. And basically, I gave them the option. It's like, okay, I'm going to bring my power. Will you need power for any of the musicians or anyone else who's going to be there? We're not sure yet. It's like, okay, I have my Jackery 1000 power cost, and if I have to bring the 2000, if I have to pull that big one out of the house, I'm charging an extra $100 for that one. So, if it's needed, if they are saying, yeah, we need to plug a keyboard in, I'm bringing the big one. I know the little one could do it, but I'm going to bring the big one just because.
This week I didn't charge for it. I was just being lazy. So, like I said,
there's a fine line. And there's nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
I mean, to the
no,
point
not
when
a
you get,
thing.
when you have tools and they can help make your day easier. Yeah, I would be all over that. Going back when I asked you if you had practiced with the Cubbie, it's kind of funny because I don't know if I've ever done a full, okay, all the sound system, I ran it for half an hour or an hour. Although I did the one test out here that was multiple, that was longer. But the very first time I was going to use it out in the field, it's like, okay, I ran it hard for about a half hour. And it's like, okay, this is where it seems to be. And then just kind of figured, well, if it made it this much, it used 7% in a half hour, it's going to be able to make it. I'm good. And in knowing that if I had to, when I'm out in the field, I can adjust
You
it.
got so many of them too that is backup upon backup. I got one. I'm buying more, but
I don't.
and
The only time I brought them all with is is when we went to South Dakota on vacation, because we have one of those little refrigerators that plug into the 12 volt. Well, they plug into the Jackery, and then you can have a freezer. One side's a freezer, one side's a refrigerator, and it kept the drinks at 38 degrees and the ice cream bars frozen the whole trip. So it was a
that's
great
nice.
thing. But
Yeah,
when you're on the road and such for 9 hours at a time, that will chew up the smaller Jackeries. You had to have multiple to get from one hotel to the next hotel.
that's eating a lot of ice cream sandwiches all at once.
And yeah, there's a reason why I've got such a nice figure. Gotta get them sandwiches. So, Kevin, I want to take about 5 minutes and let's talk what weddings. What have you been noticing so far? This is completely off our topic for tonight, but I just wanted to any trends that you've seen so far. We're early in the wedding season.
I'd have to say sales. Sales are starting to come around. I was a little nervous looking into next year, but for some reason, I'm finding that leads are finally coming in.
Mm,
It's I was a little anxious. I'm like, oh man, leads are we're not booked out as far as we generally are, and but I just think brides, since we're past that everybody's talking about this year's being slow in it, and it was moderately slow for us, but we're still booked solid on a lot of the weekends. But next year wasn't. I just think that since we're through post COVID and all that, all that getting that rush, now they're a little slower in booking as well. And I think they're a little bit more thriftier. So we're adding a little more value. We're still missing a few that were out of their budget. And I
mm-hmm.
get it. We're not everybody's price point. But I think sales are coming along, and I feel really good about that. Sent out 5 contracts today. So
Nice. Good for you.
yeah, just feeling, and that's not a flex or anything like that. It's just they all close at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been working them, and they just all happened to close on Monday. So I sent
Sure.
out contracts.
So what I've been seeing here, as far as the booking goes, is late. I mean, we've got
Yeah.
calls that are coming in for July. We just actually booked 2 shows at the beginning of July 4th weekend, the Friday and a Saturday. I've had a couple of August events that I had calls on, or a couple of August dates, excuse me. And right now, September and October of this year I've been getting some calls and inquiries on. The closer ones, they were like, okay, yep, sounds good. Let's book it. It seems like the farther away, there's more, well, we're kind of looking around, and some of them have come back and have had additional questions, whatever. But from my perspective, I've had very little contact for 2025 or for next year and beyond. So that's interesting. You were seeing that. Music wise, performing at the weddings, are you feeling anything different from this year to last year, or from last year to this year?
Really love Shabuzi. And I think dancing a little bit more, getting a little looser. COVID, everybody's kind of uptight. We played Sweet Caroline. You always be careful, not hand in hand. But yeah, I think more dancing. I'm seeing more dancing finally. Like I said, I felt through COVID, sometime through COVID, people were a little. There were people who just didn't give a crap, and they would be out there no matter what. But there are some that there were slow dancers. Now it's getting back up. I think the dance parties are getting a lot better. And here in the Midwest, we DJ for like 8 hours in a day. I mean, I'd love to be like our friends on the East Coast, where it's like a 4 or 5 hour wedding, and that is it. And that includes dinner and everything. You're here with dual purpose venues with ceremony on site and reception. They last close to 7 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of dance. But I'm seeing a lot more dancing, going the distance. Going all the way till 11 o'clock. Where, like I said previously, it was just kind of hit or miss.
You mentioned the end time. I've got on my schedule, I have this weekend is at midnight. I have 2 weddings ending at midnight this year. Otherwise, it's 11. The most common number is 10 o'clock this year. It's just the way it is. And I've had the conversation with like last week, and they're like, yeah, 10 o'clock, we're good. That's, we're not here. Yeah, we're not here for a long time, but we're here for a good time, that type of a thing. And
Oh, I love that.
I get that. It was fabulous because you could go out there and do your thing and have a good time with that. So, yeah, Gus mentions a lot more last minute inquiries. Talking about a local club that Mike mentions, a local venue that hired equipment, rented equipment. But they rented the equipment for about $1,000 from the music store, but they didn't hire a DJ. Well, for their $1,000, they probably could have gotten a DJ thrown in if they'd have called the right DJ.
Great.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
and also the scavenger hunt's been doing really well for this. It's kind of taking place to the dollar dance and doing a scavenger hunt for the bride and the groom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't. I don't think I've got a dollar dance garter bouquet.
Oh,
and none of those are on my itinerary. I have one anniversary dance that's pending, and I say that because they're not sure if they want to do it. There's a kind of a story behind that, but that's out there. I've actually Midwest weddings. Typically, it's introduce, wedding party, dinner, toast, move on, and then 20 minutes later, after the tables are cleared, we do our dance. First dance, spotlight dances, and then we go on. I've got a series of weddings, and I haven't even pushed this, but we're introducing a wedding party, first dance. And that's, we were doing that 5, 6, 7 years ago as a kind of a novelty. Hey, let's try something new. I haven't talked about that in a long time. And I've got couples who are like, yeah, we want to do it right after. It's like, yay. Because there are many people who've never seen a first dance until we've done that. And they're like, oh, wow, that was kind of neat. I've never seen a first dance at a wedding before. So yeah, because you eat and run.
Yeah, it's the old Midwest wedding, small town wedding.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, well, it gets kind of crazy once the food is done. Then they open up the bar, and then there's people hanging from the rafters.
Playing that stinky rap music.
Yeah, it's like, can you play any of that good old-fashioned John, that John Denver music for me? That's good stuff.
And one last thing that's trending is the bride is passing the toss bouquet to her mother. And I've even pitched that a few times after I did it the first time. Bride, at the end of the toast, the bride says, there's always, the father bride walks me down the aisle. There's a father-daughter dance. There's the mother-son dance. And my mom has helped me throughout the entire planning process in my entire life. And there's nothing for my mom. So at this time, I'd like to present my mom, my bouquet, my toss bouquet, because she means what I'm saying?
Yeah, nice.
And it's really, really cool.
Yeah, very nice touch.
I've seen that. I've done that 3 times this season already.
Very good. That's a neat idea. Boy, right there, for those of you who are still watching, there's your money's worth right there. A great idea to be able to give an option for the bouquet, because the brides have it.
A lot of florists throw it in. A lot of florists throw it in as far as a freebie.
They just don't know what to do with it.
Right, because there's not a lot of single friends. That's why when a bride, I haven't done like a bouquet toss in a lot of years.
Yeah,
or a lot of weddings. It's trending out. We all know it. And when they say they do want to do it, I'm like, well, how many single friends do you have? Do we want to embarrass the 2 girls that are single, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, but presenting it to mom like that—that's a really, really kind of a neat idea. Good.
And I always do it right after the toast, because I said then you have everybody's attention.
You focus,
because you don't want to do it in the middle of a dance, or like when you were gonna do it, if you were supposed to do it in the middle of the dance.
Yeah,
like a regular bouquet toss. So it's just kind of a neat idea.
Nice tip, a nice idea there. So thank you, Cubbie, for sharing that. That was a really, really good idea.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's time for us to mosey. Up next, we're going out to the chill room tonight, DJNTV.com/chill. Howie's been our main guy on Monday night, and he's going to be taking kind of a little sabbatical with us here this summer as he's working on some things. So we're going to have kind of a mix of Brian and Jay and John as kind of our main Monday night chill room crew. They'll be in there, so you can go out to DJNTV.com/chill, and they're going to be kind of leading a discussion and having some fun with that, and recording about a 20-minute, half-hour session, and then after that, everyone can turn their cameras on and mics on and have it be like a chat session.
One last thing.
Yeah.
Disc Jockey News is going to be out at Marquee Show. Come
right.
Find me. If you watch the show, I'd love to talk to you, interview you, seeing what you're happening, and Like I said, we're going to be showing new gear. It's going to be at the Marquee Show and talking to a lot of vendors, a lot of speakers. And but I said, if you do attend, you do watch the show, please stop, find us. I'd love to talk to you, interview you, see what's happening, and get to know our people. And there's my dogs.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's coming up here in a couple of weeks, by the way. If you marqueeshow.com, you guys can go out and check that out. There's still ability to get passes for that, whether you just want to check out the exhibit hall and hang out with Cubbie as he's looking at gear, or if you want to get into the educational side of it, marqueeshow.com. You can check that out. So excellent. Yeah, there we go. Dave liked your idea too, Cubbie.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
Ooh, Robin mentioned maybe mentioning to the bride of making it roses, a bouquet of roses. That'd be kind of cool.
Now, so for my anniversary dance, when I do it, I said do. When I do it, I do stop and get flowers for the longest married couple.
Oh yeah.
And I have the bride and groom pass it to him, and then I have them swap partners if it's somebody that's significant to him, like a grandma or grandpa. But I do stop and to get like a bouquet of flowers, like $12 at my Hy-Vee store, which is a local grocery store. And a lot of times it's roses. But thank you, Robin. Yeah, I do that for my anniversary dance as well. But yeah, it all depends on what the florist is going to do as a toss bouquet. But I think it's a great idea.
I like to run outside and just grab a handful of grass, from the side.
Dandelions?
Yeah. Just, nothing says love like, weeds. Here, Grandma.
Yeah.
Love it. DJNTV.com/chill. Go check that out. There'll be some videos dropping throughout the week on the channel, and you guys can check those out also. And we will catch you tomorrow night. Actually, we got Ben Stowe and Big Daddy tomorrow night. And those will be live. So we'll catch you tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern, as we start our live shows.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers next Sunday coming up.
Yeah, but coming up quick, isn't it? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I wonder if I can get myself something. That'd be fun.
I know, right?
We'll catch you guys later. Good night, everybody.
Jackery. See ya.